why are drummers considered a different thing than the rest of the musicians around us? That's the question today. So, I think the main difference is anyone could probably go on the drums and make something drum-ish, right? I feel like percussion is more natural to humanity and in like our nature than guitars or keyboards ever will be, because we've evolved with drums way longer than we have like guitars. Like prehistoric, ancient times, we had more drums. We already knew how to like work the drums, and I think that's why there is a little bit of a sense of drummers aren't musicians, and that you know people just kind of don't take them as seriously sometimes. And this is from experience from me. A lot of people said I'm not exactly a musician. A lot of people said, um, you know, that drummers aren't the same as a guitarist, and they're not. They do completely different things, right? Like one sets a rhythm and one sets a tone as well. So the guitarist will set the feel of the emotions more, where we have to set out as drummers to like support them. But most of the times we start it and they just kind of follow along, but they still have a very important they still have a very important they still have a very important job in setting the scene. They're the visual directors. They're the ones that show you, what what the vibe is. They're the ones that want to show you the feeling, the emotion. Where we're more of the stage setup directors or whatever. We set the stage so they can show off their emotion, show off their creativity. We just set the stage, but without a stage they can't do that. I don't know why a lot of, especially when I was in music college, which I just left. I don't know why they never considered drummers as that important. I don't know why they consider them like second class musicians almost. And I get it might just be a personal thing to me, because I personally like to play a lot of experimental and heavy drums. Like, I'm not a big fan of simple drums, simple songs when I'm supposed to be learning how to advance. So I like to make things more difficult. I know it's different in the sense of when I need to do something simple, I will, because that's how it has to work in some gigs. I have to play what they want. I'm their employee. But when I'm a student, I want to push myself. So they used to make fun of me for that, I guess. But I kind of still see a bit of a thing where a lot of drummers just kind of think they're not as important when they're the most important. You can have a band without a guitarist, because you can just have a synth player that fills in that kind of place, and you can do a completely different vibe. I wouldn't like to say this, but you can have one without a bass player, because again, you can probably synth a bass. You can get a keyboard and just bass it out. Basically, a synth or a keyboard can substitute as a guitar or bass, but it will have a completely different vibe. But that's not the point. The point is, why are drummers considered different? And I'll tell you the most simple answer I can think is just because it seems less intellectual. It seems less difficult to do. Everyone always thinks they can drum. A lot of people don't think they can play guitar. And doing an easy drum beat, that's take a couple weeks. I get how that's easier, but to be a good player of the drums takes more effort than being a good player of the guitar. I think, because there's so much attention to detail into it as well. And then it gets to like, you know, being a great player, and obviously I feel like being a great guitar player is probably as difficult as being a great drummer, because I think they're both the same. I think when you go to greatness, like if you're thinking good, being a good drummer is better than no, not better. Being a good drummer is harder than being a good guitarist. Being a decent guitarist is harder than being a decent drummer. And then when you get to like greatness, it's all the same. You can't really be a great anything without it being extremely difficult. But you have to try anyway. But I just think that when it comes to drums, when it comes to being separate, it is a lonelier job. It's like being a goalkeeper in football. You know, you kind of just sit there and watch them do their thing, and you kind of feel like you have to be a bit more disciplined. But that's the part of the greatness of it, because sometimes you just need to know when it's time to separate yourself from your wants and just feed the band their what they want, you know. And that was hard for me to learn. I always just wanted to hit the shit out of the drums. I always just wanted to hit the shit out of them all the time. I hated not being able to just go mental, because, you know, I want to play like Zach Hill. I want to play like, you know, all the punk shit, all the fucking escape room shit. I wanted to do all that, but they're making me play Ed Sheeran. And it felt embarrassing. Because I was like, why would I want to play this? Why would anyone want to play this? But I think I kind of missed the point sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I just had to strip it down a bit so I could earn the right to go mental. But now that's all behind me, you know. I'm in a heavy music scene. I'm trying to figure out what scene I fit in. I'm trying to figure out where I can play, how busy I can get, you know, where I can get employed, all this stuff. I want to play as much drums as possible. But I just don't think that I don't think being separate should deter anyone, you know. I feel like it's a special thing playing the drums. A lot of people can't relate to the drums in terms of other musicians. A lot of them can't relate to it. They can only relate to what's, you know, close enough to them. You know, bass and guitar, they both have strings. That probably helps, you know. And that's why they, you know, like, you know, melodic stuff as well. You know, like all the melodic players, you know, like singers and keyboardists and guitarists, they all can talk to each other. But it feels a bit isolating, but you just got to do your job, and you just got to enjoy it. And that's all I can really say, because at the end of the day, they can't play a gig without a drummer, can they? So I'll see you in the next one, if I do a next one.